Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am at the Vero Beach Airport, and like before, my dad is flying out of this airport on Breeze. He's headed up to Westchester County. Here he is, say hi.
Hello everybody.
And he'll be doing all the filming today. I'll be doing the filming at least in the beginning because we are together here at the airport. We're gonna head into the airport restaurant for some lunch before we send him off to New York. It's June and Breeze is busting out all over on this channel. First, my dad took a flight on Breeze from Westchester to Vero Beach on an A220, and then shortly after that, I did the same exact thing. What a great experience for both of us. Breeze is a new airline and gaining some great traction in the USA, and for now, it's time to head inside to make this really unique experience happen again. So it's through this door where he'll go to check in to his flight, but just down on the other side of the building is the airport restaurant, so we're gonna have lunch there first. Is this someone's house, or are we at an airport? If the sign didn't say this was an airport, a terminal building likely wouldn't come to mind right away. This could possibly be the most relaxed feeling airport with airline service in the USA, and inside this building is a very unique tradition, C.J. Cannon's Restaurant. They've been serving since 1984, and it's a place not just for people who are getting ready to board a Breeze flight. Locals flock here in droves. How great it is to know that people want to go to an airport to eat. The interior pays tribute to a bygone era of aviation in a very vintage setting. It's a truly retro setting, quite a contrast from the brand new A220 that my dad will be boarding in a bit. But despite the interior's aviation theme, there's some real-world live aviation in the outdoor sitting area, so we chose a table out there. Palm trees, runways, and food. What more can you ask for? This is a fantastic and nearly tropical setting in such warm weather, 27 degrees north of the equator. I get to stay here for a little longer, but my dad is headed to the northeast. The menu offers classic American favorites and is quite vast. Considering the meals offered on Breeze are light, it's a great way to fill up before a flight, and while waiting for the food to arrive, the best way to spend the time is to catch aircraft on the movement area. And here comes the food. It was served with a smile and was very tasty. There's an indoor dining option too, but why eat inside when you know there are aircraft on the ramp? The meal ended with a nice peach cobbler, but it's not time to head indoors yet. Between the dining area and the ramp is a beautiful green space that you can simply wait in, and the weather is perfect for this today. There are even some benches right up against the fence to watch the planes go by. But this area doesn't just serve as a place to watch aircraft. This here is the airport's baggage claim area, outdoors. Yep. It's views like this that you'll get while collecting your checked bags or just hanging out here before your flight. These are some of the smaller airplanes here at VRB, but an A220 is inbound from Windsor Locks, Connecticut, and will be on the ramp here today.
Just can't wait to get on that inbound plane from Harvard, that beautiful A220 to White Plains this afternoon.
All right, I'm here with Dad. We are getting ready, well, he's getting ready to take his Breeze A220 up to Westchester County Airport in New York. So before he gets on, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about his flight itself. He is going to be flying towards the front of the A220 today. What class of service did you purchase today?
Today we're on the nicer seats, which are the larger seats than the nice, but not quite as nice as large as the nicest seats. We've done it before. It's a very convenient, lots of leg room. Lots of maneuverability room within the seat itself. Very comfortable. We're in row number 6, which is right up front, and a great viewpoint from these windows as well.
Yeah, of course, as he chose a seat, we do need to look at the seat map. We did this together, of course, to make sure there actually is a window, a well-aligned window, and it is on the left-hand side of the aircraft. Now, coming down here, you actually purchased a nicer seat, but you sat in a nice seat, which is in the back, only because there were no seats available for nicer towards the front. So, of course, we'll sacrifice legroom for the view.
Absolutely. So we sacrificed it a little bit, but even in the nice seats, which is the back of the plane, so to speak, plenty of room for people. For a 2.5-hour flight, more than enough room. It's very comfortable, quiet airplane. Flies very smoothly, and just it's a very nice airline to fly
Nice,
on.
there you go. It's a breeze, isn't it?
Well, it's a breeze to fly on. It's very breezy today.
It is a little bit breezy out here, yeah. And speaking of breeze, You know, seat selection, of course, for me and for him has to do with the view on the particular side of the aircraft. And he is strategically seated on the left-hand side of the aircraft, primarily for the arrival into Westchester County. But this weather, this breeze, kind of stretches all the way up to the northeast. So it's really not going to be the greatest weather en route. And I don't know what the weather's going to be like in New York. He's on the left-hand side of the aircraft because of the Bono arrival procedure to Westchester, which takes you out over Long Island. And if you're seated out on the left-hand side of the aircraft, you get this really good view of Long Island. You'll see JFK Airport in the distance. You could probably even see LaGuardia Airport and then Manhattan in the distance. But the weather just may not cooperate today. We'll have to see.
No,
he'll have to see.
It's going to be overcast with rainy skies. Temperature 52 degrees up there in the north.
Yeah.
New York City area. Rain is forecast, so I don't expect to get a great view this time on our Bono arrival to White Plains.
And hopefully you'll get a nice view taking off. You know, the clouds here does look like it's actually raining in that direction over there. The ceiling is not that high, kind of scattered, broken throughout. It keeps changing throughout the day. Typical Florida weather, of course. And the climb out today currently shows that you'll be taking the water route. So you kind of just head out over the ocean. You'll probably take off in this direction, runway 12 right, make a left-hand turn to the north, head out over the ocean, and then join land around Wilmington, which is the typical place where you join the land for any arrival from the south, from Florida. So we'll just have to see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on the weather, and we'll know when we do the takeoff roll.
Yep. And by the way, we are standing right now in the baggage claim area for arrivals to this airport. This is where you claim your bag. There's no roof overhead. It's completely outdoors. This is a very small airport. All right, we'll talk to you soon. We're about to head back in now, but before heading in, I learned something about today's upcoming flight. Okay, so we just found out that the aircraft that he's going to take is the exact aircraft that he took from Westchester to Vero Beach. It's a brand new A220-300. However, he did say that the Wi-Fi was not working on that airplane, so we doubt that the Wi-Fi is going to be working on this particular flight from Vero Beach up to Westchester. No Wi-Fi? That's like a flight from the past. But some Breeze aircraft do have Wi-Fi. Speaking of the past, here's a sign indicating how the airport was once a U.S. naval station, but the airport was built before that in the 1930s. Back inside, the only way to get to the check-in area is to walk through the restaurant's old lobby. There's a lot to take in here, and you can learn a lot about aviation before dining or a flight. By the way, this is the indoor portion of the restaurant, and yes, there are windows that overlook the airport operations. With full stomachs, we proceeded outdoors just for a few short steps to the check-in hall. I just love this quaint area that leads there. Afternoon airport traffic is starting to pick up here with passengers headed to HPN. Let's go in. Even this space is unique. I really didn't know what to expect on this side, but this room has rental car desks and one check-in desk for Breeze. Prior to Breeze, Elite Airways operated out of this terminal. Today, Breeze offers flights to Westchester, Hartford, Providence, and Islip. Northeasterners really love Florida. And even though all of those destinations in the Northeast are small, they're a lot bigger than this airport when it comes to airline operations. After dropping off his bag, my dad got his boarding pass and I said goodbye, but the way I get involved in flight following, it's like I'm with him.
Let's go to HPN.
After dropping him off, I went upstairs to use the landside restroom and got this great view. Okay, and he's off to White Plains. I'm actually not flying on Breeze to get to New York City. I'm flying on Delta Airlines for two reasons. I did find a better airfare, and I just need to fly a few more 1,000 miles to get to million miler status, so I want to get to that point. Actually, I need around 50,000 miles, but that will come. I'm working my way back down so I can go outside. This is one of two positions that Breeze uses on the ramp. Okay, as you can see, there's some weather coming in and it's getting quite windy, or should I say breezy out here. I may have to move indoors, but his aircraft is inbound. It is descending on the arrival procedure to land here at the Vero Beach Airport. It's coming in from one of their operating bases, Hartford, Connecticut. And once the plane lands, it's going to turn around and head on over to HPN. Despite these clouds, it's time to look for the inbound flight from BDL. Okay, the airplane is actually right over there right now, heading southbound. It's going to be going around the airport. I've got my umbrella here in case it rains, and then making a left-hand turn to join the final approach course to runway 30 left. There is a lot of weather in the area, so the aircraft had to deviate around the weather. Typically, the aircraft would just fly down over the ocean, make a right base, and land on the runway, but the weather's in the way today. There it is. It had to get lower for me to see it. Okay, it is right over there. I am able to see it. All right, I'm glad I was able to get that view of the aircraft. Umbrella's out. It's starting to rain. Let's check in with Dad, who has cleared TSA and is in the secure area waiting to go to Westchester.
Here I am inside the Breeze waiting area. Our flight hasn't arrived yet, but it'll be here pretty soon. And we'll be boarding in around 5 minutes to 4. Current time is 3:30.
The plane just touched down. Here it comes. Okay, and here comes the aircraft. It just landed on runway 30 left. Okay, it's really starting to come on down now. I had to find shelter in a car. The storm was intense, and all I could think about were the passengers who needed to get off that A220 in this weather, and those who need to board, including my dad. I saw all this happen through the car window. A few moments later, the storm let up. All right, everybody, I had to take shelter here. That was really, really intense. The passengers actually from this Hartford flight deplaned in the rain. As you can see, they have a covered walkway right over there, but they do have to walk in the open air to the terminal. I'm sure they got very, very wet. Anyway, the next flight, the flight that my dad is on, should be boarding pretty soon. The crew is on board already. I was able to see them board from here. Okay, as you can see behind me, the aircraft is being fueled for its flight up to Westchester. And one thing of note, they did switch the flight plan to a land route. So instead of flying out over the water, turning left to the north and joining the coastline around Wilmington, instead this aircraft is basically going to be flying over the land the entire duration of the flight. So it's going to follow the curve of Florida and then proceed northbound towards Westchester County Airport. However, there will be some water portions of the flight as the aircraft approaches New York City because the WONO arrival procedure takes aircraft south of Long Island from over the Atlantic Ocean around the Long Island Sound to the active runway at Westchester. I couldn't believe how quickly this aircraft was turned around despite the rain, and I got to see my dad as he boarded. You can sense his enthusiasm for getting on this A220. He loved his flight down here from Westchester, and he knows he's going to love this return leg. All right, as the rest of the passengers board this beautiful Airbus A220-300, he is now taking his seat, and he's going to be filming out the window. This is going to be a great flight, and I'm going to provide as much information as I can about his flight, too. Here's his view from the front of the plane.
My name is Anthony, and I'm assisted by Cassie and Jillian in the main cabin today. We're excited to have you on board and look forward to serving you. Our flying time to Westchester is scheduled for 2 hours and 13 minutes. Please direct your attention to the flight attendants in the cabin as we provide important safety information about our flight. There is a passenger safety information card located at each seat. Please follow along as we point out some of the safe features of this A223 aircraft. In preparation for takeoff, please ensure that your seatbelts are fastened, tablet holders, tray tables, and seat backs are in their upright and stowed positions. Carry-on items are properly stowed, window shades are open, and smaller electronics are placed in airplane mode and secured. Please stow your footrest and lower your headrest. To fasten your seatbelt, place the metal tip into the buckle and pull to tighten the strap so it is low and tight across your lap. To open, lift the flap of the buckle. Seatbelts must be fastened anytime the seatbelt sign is illuminated. All our flights are non-smoking. This includes e-cigarettes and vaping. Federal law prohibits tampering with, disabling, or destroying laboratory smoke detectors and drinking personal alcohol brought on board the aircraft. Federal regulations require guest compliance with all lighted information signs, posted placards, and especially crew member instructions. There are 6 exits on this aircraft, 2 exit doors at the front of the aircraft, 2 window exits over the wings, and 2 exit doors in the back of the aircraft. All exit doors are equipped with slides which can be detached and used as flotation aids. 4 additional rafts are located in overhead bins identified by a placard. Overwing exits have slides that can be used in a non-water landing. If there is a loss of electric power, floor-level emergency lighting will guide you through the exits. All exits have lighted signs. Please take a moment to find the 2 nearest to you. Keep in mind that they might be behind you. Life vests are located in a compartment beneath or adjacent to your seat. Remove the vest from the pouch by pulling on the right tab. Pull the vest over your head and fasten the strap around your waist. Adjust the strap to fit tight. As you leave the plane, inflate the vest by pulling down on the red tab or manually inflate by blowing air into the tube. The life vest has a locator light that will illuminate once immersed in water. Infant life vests are located in a forward compartment identified with a placard. Instructions for operation are found on the passenger safety information card, which is located in your seat pocket. Flight attendants will distribute infant life vests if necessary.
It's time for taxi to runway 12 right. This airport is heavy in general aviation traffic, but because of the storm that just passed through, there was less traffic at this time, and Vero Beach Ground Control gave this flight clearance to taxi to runway 12 right. That's accomplished by taking taxiway Charlie there. Taxiway Charlie parallels the runway, and along the way, it's necessary to cross the crosswind runway, runway 422, and the controller gave this flight clearance to do it, so it's a non-stop taxiway all the way to the start of the departure runway. That's the FAA's Air Traffic Control Tower, which is located on the other side of a public road. The tower does close late at night, so sometimes the airport traffic area becomes a self-announced Unicom airport, but for now, the tower is staffed with controllers. We're leaving the small airline terminal ramp, and the only other types of aircraft that we'll see along the way will be smaller planes. The A220, although medium-sized, looks huge at an airport like this that has so many smaller aircraft that are both based here or just passing through. When a Breeze flight comes into VRB, it's like an A380 landing at JFK. That makes everything else look really small. Check out this cluster of small training aircraft. They belong to Skyborne Airline Academy, a very innovative flight school. Many of the students go on to fly for carriers like Delta Airlines or JSX or Avelo. They even have a partnership with Delta, so the next time you're on a Delta jet, your pilot might have started right here. I had spent some time at the ends of the runways of this airport, and at times I've noticed queues of aircraft in the takeoff line of up to 7 to 10 planes at a time. Flight training, among other types of flying, is really popular at this airport. The Piper Aircraft Company is based right here in Vero Beach. Its headquarters is also along this taxiway, but in the opposite direction. But Breeze is really building up its presence here at the Vero Beach Regional Airport. As my dad was taxiing out, a second Breeze aircraft pulled into the ramp. It's another A220, and it came from Westchester and will make a turnaround and head to Hartford, Connecticut. In the winter months, there are 2 flights to and from Westchester and 1 to and from Hartford. Okay, another A220 just arrived from Westchester. I moved over here because that aircraft is blocking the view of the runway. Speaking of runways, my dad's A220 is now crossing runway 422, the crosswind runway, before making a U-turn to take off, and I'm remaining in the position that you just saw me at so that I can catch a peek of his plane accelerating for takeoff. I was going to stand somewhere else so I could see more, but with the quick taxi out to the runway, I didn't have time to drive anywhere, so I just remained where I was. By the way, sorry about the focus issues out the window, but this is a problem I know very well, so I get it. When the windows are wet, it's just really hard to focus, and the camera goes between focusing on the raindrops and the actual view. We all prefer better weather days. The plane is now on the other side of runway 422 and all ready for takeoff. This plane won't stop moving until after landing.
Flight attendants, please proceed for takeoff.
Who doesn't love that exciting announcement? This plane just needs to go to the end, turn right, and take off. The ground controller hands the flight deck crew over to the tower or local controller. The local controller's work is simple at this time. A storm just passed by and there are no aircraft on approach to any runway. The runway this plane will be using is the primary and longest runway and can be in high demand at times for both arrivals and departures at 7,314 feet. Often, departing aircraft will have to wait on taxiway Charlie for other planes to take off or land, as the controller finds a suitable and safe gap between flights, but takeoff clearance can be issued immediately today. Once airborne, the flight will be handed off to the Palm Beach Tracon, and despite New York being to the left, a climbing right-hand turn to the south and west will be made before proceeding up north. And of course, what better way to experience this on an A220? This is one of over 330 A220s flying around the world. The A220 uses Pratt & Whitney GTF, or Geared Turbofan engines. They are very fuel efficient and helps to reduce CO2 emissions. And they're quiet both inside and outside. I'll let you listen into the sounds of the two engines in a moment as the plane takes off. Specifically, the engine is called the PW1000G. Have any of you flown on the A220? If you have, let me know in the comments section below. I've flown on the A220 several times on Delta, and its two series, the -300, which is the same as the plane in this video, and the smaller -100 series. The big draw, of course, are the large windows. Other carriers that fly the A220 are Air Baltic, Air France, and Air Canada. Those are the primary users, but Breeze has 66 of them on order in addition to the current 25 that they use today. More and more carriers seem to be flying this type. I like it. Well, this A220 is at the end of taxiway Charlie, so it's time to turn to the right and take off for the flight up to Westchester. This is always an exciting moment. Let's listen into the engine sounds as this plane enters the runway, accelerates, rotates, and climbs. Just before reaching the Intracoastal Waterway, a right-hand turn is issued. This gets the aircraft around the weather. This will bring the plane inland and away from the destination, but eventually the flight will head north. Normal routing has the aircraft fly out over the Atlantic Ocean, then turn left to the north on course, but this is a less than ideal weather day here in Indian River County, Florida. So the flight will pass south of the airport. Here we can see the Intracoastal Waterway headed south. The barrier island protects the mainland. The set of bridges that you see in the distance is Fort Pierce in the next county, St. Lucie County. The shoreline extends all the way down to Miami in Miami-Dade County, which is too far to see after Martin, Palm Beach, and Broward counties. The wings are about to level off towards the west, heading towards the west coast of Florida, but the plane won't go that far. I'm still standing in the same spot at the airport, and my goal is to keep the airplane in plain sight for as long as possible, and the now higher cloud cover allows for good contrast between the plane and the clouds. The aircraft is being handed off from the Palm Beach controllers, which handle traffic to many airports in the northern reaches of the Miami metropolitan area and beyond, to the high-altitude Miami Air Route Traffic Control Center, which handles the airspace in Florida from Orlando to the south. Northern Florida high-altitude traffic is controlled by the Jacksonville Air Route Traffic Control Center, as well as part of the airspace in Georgia and South Carolina, which are two states that this plane will be flying over. That's followed by high-altitude controllers in Washington Center and New York Center before getting handed off to New York Approach Control and ultimately Westchester Tower for landing clearance. I was able to keep this plane in sight for the next 4 minutes. Under the control of Miami Center, it went pretty far inland before turning to the right. The right turn had the aircraft fly around the metropolitan Orlando area, and then the flight started a slight turn to the northeast, roughly following the eastern seaboard toward New York, where the aircraft joined what's known as the Bono Arrival, which keeps this flight clear of airports like JFK and LaGuardia by making it descend over the Atlantic Ocean and joining land around Gilgo Beach on the south shore of Long Island. From there, it's northeast bound toward the Long Island Sound, then into Connecticut for vectoring to the final approach course. The departure phase out of Vero Beach is quite simple, but the arrival is really complex as this aircraft will be entering some of the busiest airspace in the world. A straight path to HPN from Florida would call for this flight to fly directly over New York City, but with already complex flight paths for flights going to and from JFK, Newark, LaGuardia, and Teterboro, the only option is to completely avoid that airspace. Even if this flight were to overfly it, the plane would be too high after flying over Lower Westchester, so utilizing the underutilized eastern airspace of the New York City area is ideal. I was able to see this airplane for the next 3 minutes, but I'll speed the next 3 minutes up. He sure is loving it, but the remainder of the flight did not provide any views. There were clouds for the entire en route phase as well as the approach to HPN. He did, however, take a few videos of the interior of this great A220. Breeze airplanes are very well appointed. The approach and landing of this flight occurred as nighttime approached, and the strategic seating on the left-hand side of the plane for the Long Island and potential view of Manhattan in the distance didn't work out due to a cloud cover and below it, rain. So that's why this video focuses so heavily on the departure out of Vero Beach. It's possibly the most unique airport in the USA and worlds apart from Westchester County Airport, which is considered to be a small airport when it comes to airline service. This channel focuses heavily on air traffic in the New York City metropolitan area, and there are many more videos to come featuring New York. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to see more, I invite you to click on subscribe below so you don't miss out on the next one. See you all very soon.